Africa. Greetings, Ghana. Greetings in the name of Emperor Haile Selassie, the most Ladies and gentlemen, 92.7 is a there. 3FM in the capital. RTP 2018-2019 reggae show host winner. Block Hobby is my name. The village champion, the gongo beater, the reggae chief priest. Tune in every Friday from 10 p.m. sharp to 12 o'clock. And on Saturday, the sabbatical day from 4 p.m. sharp to 6 p.m. is the reggae vibe. This is the most educative and interactive reggae show in the capital, Ghana, Africa. Never touch it out there, never flip it. 92.73 FM. If you touch it, you are go born because reggae music come boom in your face and you just ESG.
Comic and Comedy is sponsored by Ebony Condoms, Secure, Blue Band, and Series. Media partners are the Multimedia Group, Despite Media, Media General, Plaza FM, YFM, and Graphic Showbiz.
Some documents that have been put out in the public domain by Honorable Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samakude Toabalakwa. We'll also look at the overall public image on the international front among the Committee of Nations per this action. And then we will also get into the security implications. Who is supposed to have a diplomatic passport? And on what basis? We'll get into all of this.
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Every friend your mama, yes, I said yes, if I said
92.7 3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
I am a symphony. Yes, I said yes, if I
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
It's 20 minutes after 9 here on 3FM 92.7. This is Community Connect, and we'll begin by reading to you some correspondences. The first one is from the National Cathedral of Ghana, dated October 27, 2021. addressed to the Chief of Staff of the Office of the President, and this was received by the Chief of Staff on the 2nd of November 2021. And then also, Office of the President received it on the 3rd of November 2021. Now, it says, Dear Chief of Staff, diplomatic passport for official travel, National Cathedral, Ghana trustee or member secretary. Greetings. I write to request a diplomatic passport for official National Cathedral of Ghana travels for Kwabena Edu Jemfi, aka Victor Kusi Boateng. Kwabena Edu Jemfi, aka Victor Kusi Boateng, member or secretary of the NCG Board of Trustees, with the appointment of a coordinator, a contractor for the project, and beginning of the construction phase, international fundraising and the development of international institutional partnerships for the National Cathedral project has begun in earnest. The member or secretary of the National Cathedral Ghana Board of Trustees will be a key part in both the fundraising and play significant roles. We seek your help to acquire the diplomatic passport to facilitate these travels related to the development of the National Cathedral of Ghana. Thank you for your help in this matter. Yours faithfully, Dr. Paul Oboku-Mensah, Executive Director, NCG, and copied to the Chairman and Secretary of the NCG Board of Trustees as well. So that's what we have there by way of the request that was made. How did the presidency respond to it? The presidency, who had received the letter on the 3rd of November 2021, responded on the 10th of November 2021. This is a letter from the Office of the President. It says, Honorable Minister, request for diplomatic passport, Mr. Kwabena Edu Jemfi, aka Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. I write to inform you that approval has been granted for the issuance of a diplomatic passport in favor of Mr. Kwabena Edu Jemfi, aka Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, member or secretary of the National Cathedral of Ghana Board of Trustees, to enable him to undertake official assignments abroad. It would therefore be appreciated if you could kindly grant approval for a diplomatic passport to be issued to him. Nana Bedetu Asante, the Secretary to the President, the Honorable Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration, and also to the Acting Chief Director, copied to the Vice President of the Jubilee House and the Chief of Staff there. So that was how the President responded to it. These are the two letters. So we can then infer that perhaps Mr. Kwabena Edu Jemfi, also aka Reverend Kusi Boateng, the man whose identities by a high court has said borders on the note of criminality, now is supposed to be holding a diplomatic passport. At least that's the inference we may be able to draw from this one, right? Because indeed we do know that Mr. Edu Jemfi or Reverend Kusi Boateng, the same individual bearing both names, different dates of birth, as we have seen on his driving license and all of this, also then now holds a diplomatic passport because he went for the fundraiser and matters arising and all of that. But also of interest in this particular matter is the fact that the Attorney General, who also used to sit on the National Cathedral, the National Cathedral office as company secretary, has distanced himself from the National Cathedral. Here is a letter dated, I'll tell you the dates in a bit, but here's a letter dated the 3rd day of April 2023. It is the National Cathedral of Ghana, registered under the laws of the Republic of Ghana, registration number CG 09411-2019. Resolution of the Executive Council of the National Cathedral of Ghana, passed on the 14th of March 2023, pursuant to Section 188J of the Companies Act 2019, Act 992, appointment of Company Secretary. Whereas at a meeting of the Executive Council, I'll get to that one. Well, appointment as company secretary. Sorry, forgive me. It's a bit of mix up there. The phone is misbehaving. Let's go to it. Godfred Yeboah Dami This is on the 14th of January 2023. He writes to the Executive Council of the National Cathedral of Ghana, P.O. Box OS 2482, Accra. Resignation as Secretary. Respectfully, as you are aware, and at incorporation, I am named as Secretary to the Executive Council of the National Cathedral of Ghana. However, owing to my limited involvement in the affairs of the organization and the demands of my office, I deem it necessary to vacate the position for a new secretary to be appointed. This was in January 2023. In the circumstance, I hereby respectfully notify you of my immediate resignation as Secretary to the Executive Council. I wish the organization the best of God's blessings in the years ahead. Yours faithfully, Godfred Damick, to the Registrar of Companies, Office of the Registrar of Companies, and on and on and on. And then the National Cathedral following suit on April 3, 2023, that was what I tried to read earlier, resolved by the Executive Council, passed on the 14th of March 2023, pursuant to Section 188J of the Companies Act 2019 Act 992. They appointed a new secretary. Whereas at a meeting of the Executive Council of the above named organization held on the 14th of March 2023, the resignation of the secretary, Godfred Damick, was accepted, and it was resolved as follows. 1. That Senna Chartered Secretaries Limited be and is hereby appointed as a company secretary to the National Cathedral of Ghana. Senna Chartered Secretaries be and is hereby appointed as a company secretary to the National Cathedral of Ghana. 2. The appointment is with effect from March 16, 2023. And 3, the executive director be and is hereby authorized to issue a letter of appointment on behalf of the National Cathedral of Ghana, signed Apostle Professor Poko Nina, chairperson or member, and Reverend Dr. Joyce Rosalind Ayi, a member. They signed this one. Now, the individual here, or the Senna Chartered Secretaries, who are they? Senna Chartered Secretaries is a corporate secretary that provides you with guaranteed efficiency, accuracy, and professional secretarial services. That's according to what they have officially on their Facebook page. Now, Senna Secretaries Limited is a limited liability company, a sister company of Sam Okujeto and Associates. A sister company of Sam Okujeto and Associates. Sam Okujeto is the elderly statesman on the Council of State, founded in 1991 under the Companies Act 1963, Act 179. We work for a range of local and international companies in various sectors such as financial, aviation, education, manufacturing, businesses, etc. And they tell you what they do as secretaries. Now, this morning, having read for you all these ones and having showed you how Senna Secretaries Limited is also attached, the sister company of Sam Okujeto and Associate, the senior citizen of the Republic of Ghana, former member of the Judicial Council, and all of that. We will get into the meat of the matter. Number one, how do people acquire diplomatic licenses in this country? Because per the information I have, the passports, diplomatic passports, per the information I have, right? The members of parliament, even members of parliament, don't use diplomatic passport. Now, they are giving service passport for official travels, and then it applies to ministers of state. So, how did Reverend Kusi Boateng or Kwabena Edu-Jemfi come to own and hold a diplomatic passport? That's the question on the minds of many Ghanaians. 2, in what capacity was he giving that diplomatic passport? Is the issuing or issuance of that diplomatic passport to Victor Kusi Boateng or Reverend Kwabena Edu-Jemfi an endorsement from the presidency and Office of the Chief of Staff that received that application or request from the National Cathedral Secretariat? Is that to suggest that they endorse that if I say, for example, Johnny Hughes, aka Edward Banfo, right? Johnny Hughes, aka Edward Banfo, needs a diplomatic passport. I am able to get it, and under what circumstances? What are the security implications? What does it mean for the image of the country Ghana? And if somebody holds a diplomatic passport and is seen, as we have now come to realize, that even the courts doubt the credibility of the individual holding this diplomatic passport, and they say this individual's character goes into the domain of criminality. That's what the court said. Tete Chawe, that's the judge's name. Now, if somebody holds a diplomatic passport and the court makes such a verdict on that individual, what are the steps that must be taken to redeem, or if you like, retrieve the diplomatic passport? Should they be left with the person? What punitive sanctions are available? And how do we repair the damaged image, if at all, globally, for the Republic of Ghana? We've been joined on the phone line by the founder and the lead at the Institute of Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies, Dr. Ishmael Norman. He is also a security expert and a lecturer. He joins us now. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, sir.
And how are
Johnny,
you doing?
How are you?
I am greater than Accra. How are you, Doc?
I am smaller than Accra.
Doc, number one, you also have interest in international relations, and you teach all of that inclusively. Tell us, what does it take to get a passport, or how do people get passports? I mean, there are different layers of passports, but let's begin that way. How do people get to own a diplomatic passport, for example?
Right. The possession of passport has been an extension of the freedom of movement since 1215 under the Magna Carta. So it goes way, way, way back.
Right.
And in the 1600s, the British actually instituted a process of making it more formalized, like with a document to let you pass and return to your destination and your origin of departure. Now, having a passport is subject to governmental control. It is not a right, it is a privilege. So government can decide, because it's a privilege, government can decide to give you, Johnny, a diplomatic passport on a whimsical explanation that your program work may need your presence in a foreign country to promote Ghana. So they don't have to have very strong, cogent excuse to do that. If the government feels that your possession of passport will help the country's image overseas, that is the decision, exclusive decision of the presidency when it comes to international travel, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that is an exclusive area that we cannot really go into.
Okay.
So, but the possession of the passport, whether it's ordinary national passport or diplomatic passport, does not allow you to engage in criminality. So irrespective of the type of passport that you hold, the moment you engage in criminality, you have breached the terms or the right to possess that passport, and it can easily be withdrawn from you.
Now, Doc, you tell me, we saw a letter from the National Cathedral of Ghana requesting for this diplomatic passport for Reverend Edu Jemfi, aka Kwabena, the names have mixed up, the two names in there, Visoktusi Boating and Reverend Edu Jemfi. We saw that request from the National Cathedral of Ghana, making a request to the Chief of Staff and eventually to the presidency. The presidency responds with the same names that was given to them, Kwabena Edu Jemfi, aka Reverend Victor Kusi Boating. And we know that that diplomatic passport was also issued. Is this right?
Okay, let's be charitable to the issue. His job was to help build the National Cathedral. Therefore, it was anticipated that he will be traveling outside of the country to do some fundraising.
That's right.
Especially among the diasporan Ghanaians. So for that reason, in order to facilitate his movement, we could say that it was justified for him to be given a diplomatic passport. So on that limited reason, we cannot quibble with why the government did it. If we want to be very strict about it, he's not a diplomat. But who is a diplomat? You can become a diplomat by appointment and by nomination. So he meets the requirements that the government considers to be necessary to promote the image of Ghana or building the national cathedral. So on that level, I think he will pass the litmus test.
There are two names here. So the letter says Mr. Kwabena Edu Jemfi, into bracket, aka Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. Should this not have raised an alarm at the presidency that Dr. Ishmael Norman, a request is being made to get a diplomatic passport for Dr. Ishmael Norman, aka Safunyami?
Well, you see, the names have been recognized, so there is no secrecy here. The names that the man is using have been recognized. You know, Ghanaians have a number of names. I have traditional name, which normally most people don't know, but I do have traditional name. But the names on my certificate is Ishmael D. Norman. So these names start from elementary school all the way to the PhD level. Okay, so with that, I can also go for a passport with my traditional name, Kwabena Achin. Now, if I use the Kwabena Achin, then because my father is a Fanti from a Kumfi, I am called Achin. If I use a Kwabena Achin for a passport, and then you recognize that I need to make all those names available to the public, so Ishmael D. Norman, a.k.a. Kwabena Achin or Ebo Achin, then, of course, I have met the requirement of full disclosure. So there is no subterfuge or trickery there.
We are now learning, per the ruling of a court, that the court is even not too sure if it is the same individual bearing both names. For example, the court added that applicant's assertion that the use of two names in the manner he has done is not a crime under our laws, as you have explained, is misconceived, as the two identities were used in a pattern of duplicity, depicting a lack of transparency, and this conduct borders on criminality because there's a separate date of birth on a passport, and then there's a separate date of birth on a driving license. So again, I ask you, shouldn't this have raised eyebrows at the presidency?
Definitely, it should have raised eyebrows. But you know what? The people who know me, really know me and my traditional name, they use both names to call me, to address me.
Right.
And they don't see anything wrong. So I think that I agree with the position of the court that it suggests some kind of criminality. However, when you are dealing with familiar people, they know all your names and everything about you. So they don't even think twice that what you're doing could be, pinching upon the limits of the law.
Right.
And so I think this is a mistake due to familiarity, but I don't think there was any evil intention. I feel so sorry that defending these people, but the truth is, the matter is that the people are familiar with the man, so they know everything about him, and so they didn't think about the legal implications of it. So it is just one of those. But when it comes to the legality of it, I think there should have been a bit more circumspect in making sure that the names that are recognized officially should be the names that he should be using. But we Ghanaians, we tend to have too many names.
Right.
Almost everyone I know has at least 3 or 4 names.
You have
just That's right. And we'll try and raise Doc back on the phone line on 3FM 92.7, 40 minutes after 9 here. Just when I was having an exciting conversation with Dr. Ishmael Norman.
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio station. Accra gets busy on this frequency.
And you can always join us with your Twitter inclusions, right, and Facebook as well. 3FM 927.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
This is Community Connect with Johnny View on 3FM 92.7.
Welcome back, Dr. Ishmael Norman is back on the phone line. Doc, apologies for that. But
no problem.
Again,
Problem,
if you hold, or when an individual holds a diplomatic passport outside the shores of the country, how should they conduct themselves?
Well, when you hold a diplomatic passport, you are a walking billboard, a brand for Ghana. You actually carry the complete sense and sensibilities of all Ghanaians. And therefore, you should conduct yourself responsibly, virtuously. Now, if you hold a diplomatic passport and you are seen in a nightclub cavorting with prostitutes, then you are actually bringing disrepute to the image of Ghana. If you are carrying drugs, it's the same thing. If you are drunk in the streets of London with a diplomatic passport, that is totally undiplomatic behavior. So I think it is the decorum that is required. It is higher for those with diplomatic passport than those with ordinary passport, even though I would say in my mind, the standard is the same whether you hold an ordinary passport or diplomatic passport. But legally, a diplomatic passport holder is supposed to behave more responsibly than one without it.
Now, given the details that we know, what we know from the courts and the conversations that are ongoing, the revelations and all of that, should the government of the day or the presidency direct the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to withdraw Victor Kwesi Boateng or Kwabena Edu-Gyamfi's diplomatic passport?
It would have been the best thing in order to appease everybody involved and to calm the nerves of Ghanaians. But governments traditionally are very pompous institutions. They do not want to admit to the people that they have made a mistake. Instead of being so arrogant about it, just say, you know what, this is a low-hanging fruit issue. We made a mistake. It was an oversight. We withdraw the passport. We are sorry about that. That would have been the noblest thing to do. But you think a government like our government would do that? No.
Doesn't that have security implications? For example, if a Mossad or a KGB, S2R KGB, CIA, MI16, any of these security operations, or if you like, institutions, get to know that this character who once held a diplomatic passport or still holds it has two separate identities, two separate dates of birth, two separate mothers, and all of that, yet is one person. What security implications could we be looking at for others who may be holding diplomatic passports from Ghana?
Danny, the obvious one I can think of is that the foreign security agencies are going to look at any holder of diplomatic passport with double eye. And basically, the scrutiny is going to be a bit uncomfortable for diplomatic passport holders because they don't trust the sanctity of the diplomatic passport issued by the government of Ghana. So it's not very good image or outcome for those people doing the right thing for Ghana's image abroad to be held at a passport at an airport for a certain period of time when all other diplomatic passport holders are just passing through like, went through a tunnel. You will be somehow interrogated in a nice way before they let you pass. So I think that is where the issue really is. And I think government of Ghana can correct this issue very easily by saying, we made a mistake, we withdraw the passport, we are investigating all diplomatic passport holders so that we clean the system so that it will never happen again like this. And then it will create the assurance and the confidence in the international community when it comes to the security of the country. Because what if a terrorist gets hold of a copy of a diplomatic passport?
Right.
How do you think he's going to be? He will easily sail through, and they will pay attention to every holder of diplomatic passport because of some of these things.
Religion is the opium of the masses, and we do know that the role that Kwabena Edujemfi, Victor Kusi Boateng was playing or still plays is on a religious note, that the president intends to build for us a national cathedral which is born out of his own promise to God that should he be given a second term, he will build God a cathedral. We don't know how that transitioned from a personal cathedral into a national cathedral where we're spending state funds. But we know what role Mr. Kusi Boateng or Kwabena Edujemfi plays in that. Now, the citizens are beginning to wonder and ask questions as to whether this was indeed a religious activity or is just another scam, giving all the negative news around it. Let me pick your thoughts. What do you think?
Johnny, I think we tend to confuse Christianity as a form of religion. Really, Christianity started as a social club for fellowship of those who believe in Christ. So Christianity, the etiology of it, tells us that it is actually a social club. So if somebody wants to build a cathedral for a social club, that's okay, but you shouldn't use government resources to do that. I don't subscribe to the national cathedral idea because I don't need to go to a building to pray to my God as a Christian or as a believer in God. So for me, I think the whole idea of a government-sponsored national cathedral, if you are contributing a little bit to it, like government of Saudi Arabia or in Turkey helped to build the Islamic Center at Kanda, that is okay. But to fund the whole $400 million something dollars, I mean, that is crazy. That is totally unchristian, unreligious behavior, because this is not what Christ wanted us to do in order to come closer to our God. So for me, personally, my opinion is that the whole thing is too bombastic to be actually a religious project. It's a Christian thing, and it's a social club. And that's what they were trying to achieve. I don't think Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo needs to build a building to praise God for making him the president of Ghana for almost 8 years. All he needs to do is kneel down and thank God every morning, and that will be sufficient in the name of Christ. Hallelujah.
If you were Reverend Kusi Boateng or Mr. Kwabena Edujemfi, and we're not talking about two individuals, one individual, would you have resigned from your post at the National Cathedral of Ghana, given all the happenings?
I respect Lindsay Ahinkra when he was caught during the COVID time for going out having been asymptomatic with COVID. You won't see this kind of bold, virtuous action from many Ghanaians, whether they are reverend ministers or not. But it would have been the proper thing to reduce the noise about the cathedral for him to say, you know what, I think I've exhausted my public acceptance and I am withdrawing from this role. It doesn't happen too often that Ghanaians actually volitionally resign from things that they are doing, even if it's going to cost them an arm and a leg.
And that's where we are at this point. But then again, you will find that they're very respected men and women of God. Who knows, they could also be holding diplomatic passports because of their work at the National Cathedral. What should they be thinking at this point?
I don't think they deserve to have diplomatic passports, because then you losing it, you lessen the value of the diplomatic passport. Diplomatic passport is supposed to go to professional and ad hoc diplomats, and the ad hoc diplomats are people who are pushing the image of Ghana, not the image of one religion. Because yes, we know 70% of the people of Ghana statistically are Christians. Well, or maybe they are churchgoers, whether they are Christian or not, it's not for me to say. But it doesn't mean that somehow this cohort wants their ministers to have diplomatic passport. If you ask most Ghanaians, they will say no. This is wrong. So sometimes I think the ministers themselves, some of them are a little bit beyond being men of God. They are now become deities unto themselves, so they behave as if they are themselves God and symbols to be worshipped, so they behave in a very weird way that even me as a secular person, I won't behave that way. So for me, every pastor, general overseer with a diplomatic passport should sign that. It's not for you. Your pastoral work has nothing to do with my interest as a Ghanaian, or with that of a Muslim, or that of a non-believer or traditional believer. So this is not really representative of the majority of Ghanaians. And the should be, does the person's work contribute to the benefit of the majority of the people of Ghana? If it is to an insular group of people in Ghana, they should not be given a diplomatic passport.
Dr. Ishmael Norman, President and founder of ISDIS, Institute of Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies, international relations expert and security expert. I thank you for your time this morning, Doc.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hughes.
Thank you, sir. Grateful. Okay. Listen to something.
The center of controversy.
A lot of you were excited when you see your father up there, always happy. Papa is up there. But when you are up there and you are fighting up there, then some of you are crying. How can I go up without fighting the demons in the air?
Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has been accusing the Secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral of conflict of interest in a 2.6 million cedis loaned to the Secretariat. He has also been accused of double identity. But in all these, he has said he will remain quiet and allow the laws to take its course. But one thing that he did not shy away from is that word of encouragement to his church members that many are the affliction of man, but God saved him from some of them. And his emphasis was on the some. But again, he told his congregants that he is well.
I promise you, I'll go through it honorably. So every one of you should relax, be happy.
William.
Well, relax, be happy. The courts thought otherwise. This is Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Let's see if we can make a few calls. 055-924-2717 and 055-691-0154. 055-924-2717 and 055-691-0154. Good morning. Hello, good morning, Pastor.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm also fine.
Talk to me.
And
yes.
I hope you are still greater. May the Lord make you great and great.
Amen. Talk to me, sir.
And strong.
Right.
You see, my brother, before I proceed on this issue, it will interest you to note. But Just 3 days back, the district engineer was being interviewed by one of the TV stations, and he said the road network had been awarded to a contract, but the contractor is nowhere to be found. He's missing. So I remember the journalist asking, missing as in what? He said, oh, the contractor will say there's no money. So do you see the excuses which are now being given to our development within our communities? My brother, in fact, I like the man who interviewed the panda and president that you
right.
He has said it all. He has schooled all of us. And I think this diplomatic passport should not just be given as such or in the name of this national cathedral from day one. I have made my stand known to Ghanaians and especially through this outfit that it is an individual pledge. God. So why do you connect it with national issue?
Okay.
And look at the wahala that we are passing through.
All right.
Or the issue that we are facing now. So
Thank
it
you.
is neither here nor there.
Thank you very much. Grateful. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Clifford once again. I think the pastor should not be rejoicing because even in the eyes of God, that is dirty game that he is playing. Why? So somebody cannot be given birth by two women or just like two fathers. You are having two names and then you are claiming that you are fighting demons and then you come out of it. How come will you come out of it? God himself is even angry with him using his name to do certain things like that. You know, we were even contemplating that maybe it may not be true, but for the court to come out and say that it is criminal, I believe that it should have been a word more than a criminal to describe this pastor. You cannot tell Ghanaians that you just gather people telling them that they should follow God. Meanwhile, you yourself, you don't follow God.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Well, we don't have that caller. We have to go. Hello, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Kosam, you're my final caller.
Thank you very much.
Talk to me, yes, sir.
I think it is disgrace to this nation that such a person will be offered a diplomatic passport. And Attorney General, on what basis is this facing that question? That a defeat of government officials? And today, this is what is happening. This is very clear. Somebody who came back home just to help this nation. And look at what we are taking him through because we think you are saying he lied at a point. And today, a court has declared somebody that his behavior is a criminal. And the Attorney General seems not to care about it. And this goes to confirm. Some time ago, the allegation that when Nana Addo was a foreign minister, he was offering this diplomatic passport to his friends left and right. Well, and they came out to the line. But this is what is happening under him when he became the president.
Okay. Kosami, thank you. Have a nice weekend. We have to go. Happy birthday to Dr. Octave Kojo of the dental clinic at Latebi Okoshi, Kolebu.